Welcome to Creamer Media's Polity. I'm Brad Doubleman. I'm in Randburg to meet with political analyst Aubrey Machiki to discuss the realignment of the ANC and opposition politics. Aubrey, you say that 2012 may see an internal realignment of politics in South Africa, not only in the ruling party but also in the opposition. Please explain.
Well, actually, what I think might happen from 2012, because I don't think all the changes I'm talking about in my column will happen in a single year. So from 2012, what I think might happen is that we are going to see realignment not only internally, but also externally within the ruling party and the opposition. And what I mean by that is that there is realignment, particularly on the part of opposition forces, that might happen with the intention of realigning the balance of forces within the political landscape as a whole. But at the same time, within the ruling party, as we lead up to the Mangaung conference in December 2012, the question is whether policies will be adopted and leaders be elected who will succeed in realigning the ANC and get it out of its current period of instability and decline.
Please explain the Zuma moment and what effect will it have on ANC politics, opposition politics, civil society and the state?
Well, the Zuma moment, to me, is a political moment which started in June 2005. Remember that in June 2005, Jacob Zuma was fired as deputy president of the country by former President Thabo Mbeki. And in June 2005, the ANC held its National General Council, at which National General Council, two things happened. The rebellion against Mbeki was launched, and effectively, Zuma's presidential campaign was launched, events which led to his election as ANC president in Polokwane in 2007. And since then, it seems two things have happened. Either out of fear or concern about what the Zuma moment would mean going forward, there have been certain responses to what is perceived to be democratic deficits that are associated with that moment. And in part, what I call a resurgent civil society, I think is informed by the fact that in civil society, or in certain parts of civil society, certain organizations have seen the need to be much more rigorous and much more strident in their attempts at what they would say, defending the Constitution and our democracy. While at the same time, there have been responses within opposition forces to the Zuma moment, the first of which was the formation of the Congress of the People. And since then, what we have seen are attempts to unite opposition forces, particularly under the leadership of the DA, or alternatively, the amalgamation of opposition forces outside the DA. The question for me is whether we're going to see a fruition in these attempts, either in 2012 or from 2012.
Please explain the resurgence of civil society and how it affects the political context in which parties operate, particularly the ANC.
Well, certain things have happened this year, and a lot of them have happened in our courts, because civil society organizations have expressed unhappiness with certain government decisions, and in order to reverse them, have gone to court. The recent of which, of course, being the unified response to the appointment of Menzies Simelane by President Zuma a few years ago on the part of both the opposition and elements of civil society, and the reversal of that decision with the finding by the SCA that the president had not applied his mind. We're seeing civil society acting against attempts to impose what is called the secrecy bill. We saw civil society challenging the reappointment of former Chief Justice Ngcobo. And there are many other examples which suggest to me that to the extent that some of us have been complaining that civil society has become moribund, This year has been the year when civil society has been resurgent. And that resurgence, in part, is a response to the Zuma moment. But I don't want to exaggerate this point, because some of the political events we have seen since the election of Jacob Zuma as president of the ANC and head of state in 2009 are simply coincidences, are political moments that coincide with the Zuma moment. But of course, some of them are a byproduct and a response to the Zuma moment.
What are the major challenges the Democratic Alliance faces in asserting itself as the premier opposition party?
For me, there are two. Firstly, there is the need to redefine what liberalism means in the post-apartheid context. And in so doing, attach it to the aspirations of the majority. Because it is very clear that the DA is aware that it has hit a ceiling in support amongst minorities, and therefore needs to reach out to black voters. One of the things that need to happen, therefore, is to define liberalism in a manner that is more attractive to this majority, whose social and economic needs need to be dealt with. That's the first thing. To the extent that the DA, during the May elections, decided to fight the ANC in its own crawl by embracing struggle symbolism and struggle messaging, the challenge it faces is that of ensuring that the perception does not take root, that this embracing of struggle symbolism and messaging is nothing but a ruse that is intended to dupe black voters to vote for the DA. But I think there is another challenge. The election of Lindiwe Mazebogo as the party's parliamentary head is a very important development in South African politics. The question is whether she will be able to attract black voters, or at least the black middle class voter. And the question is whether the DA will be able to manage parliamentary politics, or the tension between parliamentary politics and electoral politics. Because sometimes what is possible in electoral terms, and therefore attempts at vote catching, might undermine messages that the DA has been putting out in a parliamentary context. And therefore there is a need for them to manage the possible emergence of a tension between messages in a parliamentary context and the content of messages in an electoral context.
Thank you, Aubrey.
You're welcome.